record it. All right, welcome everyone. We'll try this again. Take two. All right, tonight we're with Randall Klein. He has been here for the past 2 weeks, and tonight we're talking about decoding mastery for ages 3 through 7. So this should be a really good topic for most of us teachers that have to get those little guys and gals to start reading, right? So just for by way of background, Randall is an early reading specialist and author from Bozeman, Montana, who taught in multi-aged early childhood classrooms for 16 years and is the author of the Klein method of early reading mastery. Randall successfully taught hundreds of children from ages 3 to 7 how to read and has used this experience to formulate the techniques and methods he now delivers to educators and parents in his presentations on methods and materials for early reading instruction. Welcome back, Randall.
Thank you so much for all you do for reading, for the science of reading, and for me personally, and allowing me to teach like this, which I love to do. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to talk about decoding mastery for young children ages 3 to 7. But I always want to, and what I'm going to do is share with you how I teach young children to read in the early childhood classrooms and kindergarten. But I want to emphasize that everything I do can be done by 6, 7, and 8-year-old children who need to pick up drop stitches. So what I have found in my career is that most of the teachers I teach are actually reading specialists, Title I teachers, resource teachers, kindergarten and first and second grade teachers who are looking for materials and methods, techniques and ideas, perceptions about helping the ones that are in their classrooms that are struggling at the beginning levels. And so what I'm going to show you today are games and activities, concepts and ideas, which for a 3 to 7-year-old child might take 2 or 3 years to move through. But for children who are in first and second grade, or even at the end of kindergarten, who just need to be more fully grounded in the fundamental skills, they will move through these activities more quickly and will give them the repetition that they need to solidify their understanding of the alphabet, their understanding of the decoding process, their understanding of the alphabetic principle. This is my book, which outlines how I do teach young children to read. It does contain a lot of visuals and graphics and instructions about how to do the games that I'm going to show you. One of the things I'm going to put into the chat box is a file that you can download, which has resources, different links that you can click to go to my website, to email me, to go to my free tutorial. And there's, of course, there's the free game downloads link right there, the Klein method PDF file. So the games I'm going to show you, almost all of them are accessible to you as free downloads. And of course, you could certainly download my order form if you'd like to order any of my materials for your classroom. We spent a lot of time the last 2 weeks talking about phonemic awareness, and that reading for all children begins with phonemic awareness, which is the ability to hear or perceive, that's a better word, to perceive and manipulate the sounds in spoken words. And because phonemic awareness is so important, it's the most important thing we've ever really learned about teaching children to read. It informs how we give instruction. And our instruction always needs to move from speech to print, from sound to symbol. I have emphasized that when teaching young children and working with beginning and struggling readers, that these are the 2 most important skills, the most essential skills that we need to be sure our children have and that we're teaching them. And that is beginning sound isolation and phoneme segmentation. Last week, we talked about alphabet mastery, and I emphasized that we're really in the business of teaching children the alphabetic principle, and that beginning sound isolation allows the child to understand the alphabet at a different level, at a subconscious level, at a deeper level. If a child can isolate the beginning sound of goat or house or apple or sun or moon, they can understand and begin to learn the alphabet in a different way or at a deeper way. And that includes children in first and second grade who know the alphabet, but they don't know it well. So if I'm asking Veronica to tell me the beginning sound of goat and she says G, then she can understand that that black abstract symbol next to the goat has that sound, G. What's the beginning sound of apple? Ah. The apple is telling us that that letter says ah. What is the sun telling us about this letter? Well, you see the idea, and it's very simple, and yet it's also very profound. Again, I work with very young children, and so when they are able to grasp this concept at an unconscious or subconscious level, they start to understand how they can teach themselves the alphabet. And then we went through some different activities, which you can download. That gold star at the top indicates it's one of the games that you can download. And by applying the alphabetic principle, children are able to get their repetition of the letter sounds and the association with sound and symbol, with speech and print. Now, let's focus this week more on phoneme segmentation. Phoneme segmentation is the ability of the child to look at the picture of cat and say k, ah, t. Phoneme segmentation is the most important reading readiness skill of everything, everything, everything. I cannot emphasize that enough. It will change your world if you spend more time and more focus and pay more attention to teaching phoneme segmentation, to being aware of it in children, and getting children to actually do it. They need to be able to look at boot and say b, oo, t, ch, ch, g, oo, s. And I think we talked about this both weeks, last week and the previous week, about the blending game, which is how I teach children to segment. Veronica, guess what picture I'm hiding? Up. She blends the sounds together. She guesses the word cup, and I hand her the card. B, oo, t. Boot. I can work with small groups of 5 or 6 or 10 children, and I can play the game differently for each child, depending on how far I separate those phonemes or how closely I keep them together. So for a very young child, I'm going to say ch, ch, and they're going to be able to blend those 3 sounds and come up with church. For another child, I'm going to separate the sounds a bit further. G, oo, s. G, o, t. See what I'm doing? B, d. So I can adjust so that each child gets the level of difficulty that they need. And of course, this is another game that I showed you last week and the week before. The gold star indicates that you can download it. And for those of you who are watching the replay of this on Donna's YouTube channel, just email me and I'll send you whatever you need. Okay, so the blending game teaches children how to blend, which is a reading skill. They need to be able to blend 3 sounds together, k, a, t, and come up with the word cat. Pretty basic, right? We don't want them going k, a, t, and coming up with the wrong word, which happens more frequently than you would imagine with children who are first starting to decode. Now let's talk about that for a second. If you think of a 3-letter word, as simple as it seems, it's actually 3 tests. The child has to pass 3 tests, or actually 4 tests. He has to know the sounds of each of those symbols, and then he has to blend them together. Now, if it takes him too long, first of all, if he can't recognize the sounds of those letters, he can't decode the word, number one. So letter mastery is absolutely essential for good decoding, and we need to teach and overteach the alphabet sounds. So, but if he does know the alphabet sounds and he sounds it out, but it takes him too long, k, a, t. Well, by the time he gets to the t, he can't remember the first sound necessarily. He says, oh, what the heck? I'll go off with the last sound I heard, which was the t. So he comes up with the word top. So the blending game allows him to become better at blending, but I also want to emphasize how important it is for the children to have very, very strong letter sound knowledge. So the blending game teaches children how to blend, but it also teaches children how to segment. Because the entire time that I'm playing the game, the blending game, and I'm hiding pictures, ox, and they blend the sounds together to guess the picture, the entire time I am modeling for their brains phoneme segmentation. So when I go into schools and work with teachers, I always work with children in small groups of 3 or 4, so I can model for the teachers some of the games and activities and allow them the opportunity to just simply watch somebody else teach. That's sort of a luxury which teachers often aren't given. So I'm here in a first grade classroom in California working with some very low achieving first graders and emphasizing for the teachers and of course for the children, the phoneme segmentation piece. Now, before we are definitely going to talk about decoding. I'm going to get there, I promise. But without phoneme segmentation, the decoding is never going to be as strong as it needs to be. So the phoneme segmentation, when a child has it, can be used in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways is just to play some games. Let's see if I can pull up a game for you real quick. Didn't quite have my image centered. I apologize for that. Oh, there it goes again. Okay. Jet, j, t. The second sound, the middle sound, j, There you go. Your turn, Thomas. That's a picture of hug. G. Now I want you to think about this. The child is giving a perfect sound. And the is basically saying, where's the oh, there it is. And he puts it underneath the letter. So I'm not asking the child to read those letters. I'm asking him to recognize them or choose it. It's like a multiple choice. This is a good example with net. That is one of the more difficult of the short vowel sounds. And every time the child segments properly, he comes up with the correct sound. He matches it to that symbol, and it's extremely reinforcing. Here we're talking about the last sound. But again, the phoneme segmentation allows the child to do it because phonemic awareness is not a hearing activity necessarily. It involves the ear. It's a phonological activity. It's a brain activity. Okay, enough of that. Just like beginning sound isolation opened the door to the alphabet for Veronica and her friends, so phoneme segmentation opens the door to words. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Phoneme segmentation allows the child to understand the alphabetic principle at the word level. The way I introduce decoding is through encoding. Veronica, what is the sound of pig? What are the sounds of pig? P, I, G. Okay, you give me the sounds and watch what happens while I move the letters. P, I, G. Okay, now it's your turn. Let me hear you say the sounds. And she says, P, and moves that letter, I, G. So this is your basic encoding activity. And segmentation of the word pig is what's driving the engine here. Phoneme segmentation is that engine underneath the hood that drives everything. You don't see the engine, but it's there. Encoding words is the most powerful way to prepare a child for decoding words. When I give children a word pocket, a child a word pocket, I can immediately tell whether he can relate to what's being asked of him without me saying anything, okay? He takes out the picture and the letters in the card, and I sort of observe, like, what is he going to do with it? Does he understand what to do with it? And again, phoneme segmentation is what drives the engine here. Recognize that picture, Miss Corrales? I think that's from your classroom, right? In Kansas City. Is that you? Maybe not. Maybe it's this one. In any case, you see it. I love to show these pictures because when I see children who can put words together, who can encode words, it shows me they understand the alphabetic principle. Now, this little boy is 7. So this is an example where a child who's really struggling is going back and doing these activities, but he's going through them much more quickly, and it's solidifying for him his understanding of what's going on. For those of you who are familiar with the Montessori environment, there's a lot of movable alphabet work and word building going on in a Montessori environment. Now, that's a beautiful movable alphabet, but in many cases, that movable alphabet is pretty messy. And so it's hard for the very young child to build those words unless we keep it organized. This is my first stab in 1983, I think, and doing word pockets. And it was very successful. Okay, so let's talk about decoding. If a child can look at bus and say bus, then he can start to understand decoding in a different way than maybe he already does. I know what I'm going to bring up. Okay, Thomas. Let's see, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I think you are. Yep, you are. What are the sounds of sun? And he says, n. Okay, give me the sounds of sun, and I'm going to move my finger. N. Sun. Can you do that with your finger? N. Sun. Let's do another one. Oh, this is a fun picture. It's a funny picture. It's the picture of sad. Oh, he is so sad. So I want you to take the sounds of sad and move your finger and read the word. Sad. Now you can see how phoneme segmentation is what's driving this. And I'm not going to ask a child to do this unless he's pretty good at phoneme segmentation. Okay, now let's do another one. Read the word to me. Now, he might already know his sounds pretty well. But with a young child in my early childhood classroom, this is how I'm introducing, one of the ways I introduce decoding. But if I'm talking about with a first or second grade child or an end of year kindergarten child who's already decoding but is not terribly successful and is struggling, this is a good way to get him into the decoding mode without him failing. Because remember, he has to know those 3 sounds really well if he's going to read this word. Okay? So, Veronica has shown me that she understands how to read these words. So now I'm going to say, okay, Veronica, I'm going to close my eyes and I want you to read the word to me and I have to guess what it is. So again, it's going to be easy for Veronica because the picture is telling her how to read the word. I don't want Veronica to fail. I want her to have lots and lots of success at these beginning levels so she feels confident. And if you stop to think about it, folks, when she looks at cap and takes the sounds from cap and puts them on those symbols, she is really reinforcing those letter sounds, which she is struggling with. As you know, if you're a reading resource teacher or a Title I teacher, if you're working with kindergarten or first or second grade kids who are struggling at these beginning levels, you always identify and observe that they don't really know their alphabet sounds that well. So we have to find ways to make sure that they're getting better and better at that. So I love my little word cards that I use because I use them a lot with children, but also with small groups of children. They'll stack them on the table face down, and they just take turns reading the card off the top. And if they get it right, they keep it. If they get it wrong, it goes to the bottom of the pile. So it's great decoding practice. And of course, they can turn the card over to see if they're right or wrong. Okay, here's another game or activity that I use a lot with young children to teach them how to read. And I use with children who are struggling at the beginning levels. I'm going to take a turn. Veronica's going to take a turn. I'm going to take another turn. She's going to take another turn. I go back and forth so that she understands what I'm doing. So the picture of fan is basically telling us what to look for. Let me pull that one up real quick. Okay, bag. G. Oh, that's easy. That's the first one. Bag. Let's do another one. Pin. No. Yeah, there it is. Let's do another one together. Fan. Okay, fan. No. No. See, I can stop right there because I know it's not going to be the right word. Now, you can imagine if I'm working with a 4.5 or 5 or 5.5-year-old child, that they're going to really actually go through these different steps. They're going to segment the picture. They're going to see which word matches to those sounds. But you have some kindergarten kids at the end of the school year, first and second grade kids who aren't decoding well, and they're going to figure out how to get to the right word. They're going to use whatever they need, whether it's the picture or whether their letter knowledge, and they're going to sort of solidify their understanding at a subconscious level of the alphabetic principle at the word level. Just having this kind of activity in your first or second grade classroom that children can choose allows them to practice without failing. I believe that reading instruction primarily is supervised practice. You're basically just showing them a game that they don't know yet. You haven't shown them the game yet. So you're going to teach them how to play the game, but you're only teaching it because you know the child has the skills necessary to do the game. And in this case, really the only skill is phoneme segmentation and a pretty strong awareness of letter sounds, even if it's not a perfect. I love this game. Sort of strange. The children love it. It grows on the teachers once they learn about it. Let's see if I can find my example of that. Here it is. Okay, cat, at. Oh, I picked the wrong. Why is it? Oh, there it goes. I'm sorry. So you see the letter recognition is multiple choice, isn't it? It's not reading letters. Although a child who's in first or second grade who knows his letters might just do that. He goes at, and he just goes right to the letters. It's your turn, Veronica. That's a picture of man. Oh, look at this. Isn't this funny? That's also a picture of man. So anyway, you get the idea. It's very simple, but for an early childhood educator like me, it's simple but profound, because I find that when I'm working with a 4 or 5-year-old child and I see that they're able to do this, it just tells me everything I need to know. How quickly does she do it? How slowly does he do it? How many, does he make mistakes? You know, sometimes they'll make a mistake and it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to, believe me, I'm not going to correct everything. I want to learn what I need to learn when I'm watching children and they come and tap me on the shoulder and say, Mr. Klein, come and look at my work. See, the nice thing about having materials like this is that it becomes a display on the workspace. You can take a picture of it. They can come over and get you and you can sort of look at it. You don't necessarily need to correct anything. You sort of notice what mistakes might be made and then you move on. Here's that 7-year-old boy again who was really struggling. And now he's finding work that he can do, he can be successful with, and he can feel like he's part of the environment. So all the games that I've shown you involve pictures. So for a 3rd or 4th grade child, my materials don't always, work because they just simply don't want to be treated like a baby. So you have to be careful. But remember, decoding involves strong letter recognition, letter sound recognition. And we have lots and lots of children in kindergarten and 1st grade even, who are being asked to read not only words, but sentences and decodable readers. And their letter knowledge just isn't good enough. So they're struggling. So we want to be sure that we're giving them the support that they need. So I like to organize all of my 3-letter short vowel work together in one space on the shelf or in the classroom. This is a classroom in South Africa where I set up my materials and my reading program in 2018. And this little boy took something out of the box on the shelf. That's 3-letter word activity. The child can segment and has even just good familiarity with letter sounds. They'll be able to do all of these games. This is one of the most important things that I've read as I've studied reading, the science of reading through the years. Reading problems primarily occur at the word level. So if I'm working with a 1st or 2nd or 3rd grade child, you're not going to see me with a book, having the child read me a book. I'm usually playing games with spelling or encoding or decoding at 3 or 4 or 5, 6-letter words, silent E, whatever. I'm going to hit that word level really hard. Now, I have found, because I work with young children, that there's a huge difference between 3-letter words and 4-letter words. And yet a lot of teachers think, well, it's just short vowel words. But it's very different because there's an extra phoneme that's there. So if a child is familiar with the games at the 3-letter word level, the 4-letter word level does present a new challenge, but it's not insurmountable, and it's actually a nice challenge for them. But I want to be sure that they're ready to work with 4 phonemes. So even months ago, I've already been playing blending games with them with 4 sounds. S, w, I, m. T, e, n, t. Ooh. Ah. P. Okay, I'm going to close my eyes. And Veronica, I want you to give me 4 sounds and I have to guess what picture it is. So it can go back and forth, especially once they're decoding 3-letter words, once they're segmenting 3 sounds, they can start being the teacher and giving you sounds and you have to guess what it is. So I'm preparing children even early on to work with 4 letters because it represents 4 sounds. So elementary teachers tend to think that they have to teach blends. I think that's a huge mistake. I do not teach blends. I teach children how to blend and how to separate blends. So in this case, see if I can pull that up. It's one of my games that I play. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Stop, st, op, st, no, st. There it is. So again, the segmentation, oh, that looks funny, doesn't it? Sorry. I don't know why that does that. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the segmentation allows the child to start to figure stuff out. L, A, G. The sound that the sounds that the child generates from phoneme segmentation is what drives the engine and what tells him what to do. Now, this is an example of a child who's working with 4 letters, but isn't quite able to perceive that hidden sound that's sort of stuck to the S, the T. So it ends up being left out, and the child thinks he's built the word stop, and then he'll ask, well, why is this letter there? Because their brains aren't quite perceiving that second sound. All of this teaches young children to decode, and all of these activities and games and materials and concepts and perceptions allow a child who's struggling at the beginning levels in 1st or 2nd grade and in end of kindergarten to shore up and become better and feel stronger in their foundational skills. I love these cards. I just do so many different things with them because you can turn them over and all you see is the word, or you turn them over and you see the picture and the word, and the child can start to figure stuff out. The picture that's next to the words is what allows children to be independent and to figure stuff out. But we have to prepare them with their phoneme segmentation and with a pretty strong awareness of their letter sounds, even if they're not perfect. Remember, reading words without any picture is a series of tests, and the child really has to be good at his letter sounds. I'm just going to go through some more slides, and then we'll have time to answer some questions or to ask questions or discuss things. I do like providing children with the opportunity to work with a more challenging group of short vowel words, like 5 and 6 letter words. They really, really need to be strong in their decoding skills. And if the only time that they're able to decode is when you're asking them to read decodable text, for those kids who are struggling, it sort of hinders them a bit, I think. When I teach young children, I move them to short phrases and sentences in preparation for decodable text, but I move them to these short phrases and sentences when I know that they're decoding 3 and 4 letter words quite well, so that they can get into a flow of reading connected text. I should have a gold star on this page because this is one of the downloads. This is one of my favorite games. It leads to a lot of discussion about whether a cat can get wet. And there are a lot of opinions about that, as you might imagine. I happen to really like this decodable series. But again, we really have to prepare children to be able to be successful at these decodable texts. Next week, we're going to talk about a little bit more advanced decoding with silent E's and phonograms. I'll just give you a little preview, and then we'll take some questions and comments. If you see any of my materials on my website or any of my handouts, but it's not available to download, just send me an email, and I can send you the digital file. I want to make my materials free to people, to teachers, to parents, to schools, and they can download them and make them. Okay. I am ready. I'm going to put some stuff into the, how do I do this? I'm trying to put a Trying to upload a file. Oh, well, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Let's see. How do you teach VCE using your approach?
Well, okay, that's a good question. VCE, that's silent E, right? That's
Right.
science of reading lingo for VCE. Okay. See, I'm an early child. I'm a preschool teacher, so you got to cut me a little slack here. Okay, well, I don't have to do much, even with the younger children, about the silent E. Obviously, I can explain it. I can talk about it. We can play lots of different games, but if they know how to segment and they understand the concept of word pockets, for example, they're going to figure this out. And all I have to do is step in. They might say, in fact, I had a child, before they put the silent E up there, they went, well, why is this there? I just built the word slide, but why is this over here? Well, that says slid. We have to put that silent E up there to make it say slide. So, I believe that children teach themselves how to read to a great degree if we provide them with opportunity to work with the alphabetic principle at the word level and to bring into play different new concepts like the silent E. It's not really that hard. I mean, you stop to think about it. Let's see if I have that up here. Let's see. Oh, I know where to look. Hold on. Nope, I don't have it. Oh, I'll show you this one. This is not silent E, but it's the same concept where it's perhaps an orthographic feature that the child hasn't been taught yet, okay? So I'm going to hide my eyes, Veronica, and I want you to read the word to me. Well, she hasn't been taught the EA, but she knows how to segment and she knows how to put her finger on the symbols and read it to me. Now I'm saying read with quotation mark, air quotes, because it's not really reading, is it, if the picture is there? But you get the idea. So she looks at the picture and she says, S-E-O. Whereas a child who's being asked to read this word and hasn't been taught the EA, or maybe has been taught the EA but doesn't remember it, what are we going to get? I mean, you're going to maybe get the wrong thing. And I always want, because I'm an early childhood educator, and actually all teachers are like this, we don't really want children to fail. So we try to present something to them in a way that would allow them to read and be successful. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, here's another one. I went to download some of your materials, but wasn't sure how to print or set up a couple of them. For the word packets, do I only put the letters for the word work inside the packet or multiple words in one packet?
I love that question. Depends on which child you're working with. When I have a group of 5-year-olds, kindergarten kids, or even first graders, if I'm at the school working with kids that I don't even know what they know, I'm just sort of having fun with them while the teachers watch, I'll give them each a word pocket and they do it. And some of them do it really quickly. Others do it a little slowly. Some children sort of are asking me okay, what do I do with this? But some of them, when they do that word pocket real quickly, and maybe I'll give them another one, and then I give them another one. Now they've got 3 or 4 on their workspace. And I say to Jonathan, do you mind if I make it harder for you? And of course, Jonathan almost always says yes, because he, bring it on, pal. Try to trick me. And I'll, move in there and just simply mix up 2 words or 3 words. And then he thinks it's really harder now, but it's not. It's not that much harder, but the letters are mixed up, so he has to think a little bit harder. But to answer your question, I have situations where I have a box of word pockets where each word pocket is 1 word and 3 letters, or 1 word and 4 letters. But I also have another box that has 1 pocket with 2 pictures and 6 letters, or 2 pictures and 8 letters if it's a 4-letter word. So, these are just beginning ideas where you can make them your own and make it more challenging. The thing about it, and that's the reason I love this question, we do have to continue to challenge children and make it a little bit more challenging. they deserve it. They need it. And we need to respect that they want to grow up. They want to know that they're progressing. And just simply having them do the same game again and again, has its limits. Pretty soon they're going to tune you out.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions. All right, just for everyone knows, I put a link to the primary phonics book. You can get it at the cheapest price I have found is this christianbook.com.
Yeah, that's definitely the cheapest.
Yep, it's $20. It's 19 something. And I was saying, usually you don't need to get the whole set because it gets pretty extensive. I've always just worked with like the red set, the first set, maybe the second set, because then they start catching on to this thing called decoding, and then they're off and running. So you don't need all of that. You don't need the whole set. Just buy like the first set, that red set, and maybe the second.
I'm trying to find something.
They're as old as the hills, but the kids.
Yeah, they do. They read them and reread them. It's really amazing how they like that.
Because they feel successful.
Oh gosh, I was really ready to put into the chat box a file, but now I can't figure out where to find it. So I'll get it to you.
So if you have any files that you want me to put on the Facebook page, send me the links. And
I'll do that.
And I'll put that also up on the YouTube post. So everyone who's watching it can download that too. Okay, here's another one. Oh, someone wanted to know, do you use the workbooks with them, with the primary phonics?
I have in the past. I have not, I talk about my early childhood classroom. I'm not in the classroom anymore. I'm an older guy, in case you haven't seen. I've been out of the classroom for a while, but yes, we did use them. Actually, well, the ones I liked were the SRA workbooks. They don't make them anymore. I liked those because the primary phonics workbooks, the children are asked to write letters about it. It's a lot of writing. And of course, I come from the early childhood level where the writing has to catch up with the reading. And so sometimes it looks pretty bad. So, but I have in the past. And children love workbooks. I don't think we want to teach children how to read with workbooks or through workbooks, but they sure like to use workbooks when they're able to. And I just think it is a great addition, I think.
Okay. How do I stop that? Mute. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
All right, here we go. Let's see. Is your vowel sorting activity the same as the sound and letter sorting, or is it different?
It's different, and I'll show you real quickly. This is my sound and letter. So this is at the letter level, where it's just matching basically the picture of how a hammer is basically saying to Veronica, where is the, so it's multiple choice. And of course the picture clues help her. And if you turn over those picture cards, now it's still multiple choice, but she's not relying on the picture. So that's the sound and letter sorting. Now let me show you the other one that I briefly talked about, which I really love. And I think this is the one she was talking about, right? So here, it's not the first sound, it's the middle sound that they have to figure out where it goes. And again, when they segment fish, ish, they're giving a perfect I. And then the I is basically saying, where do I belong? Oh, there it goes up there next to that letter. So it's the letter recognition is not reading letters, it's recognizing them. That's one of the reasons why I like this game so much.
Okay, here's one. What would your best approach to helping struggling first graders that have trouble with sounds letter ID, and beginning, middle, and final sounds, as well as rhyming. Where would you start?
Well, I want to have rhyming activities in the first grade classroom so that young children who are struggling, they're not quite fitting in, they realize that other children are way ahead of them, at least it gives them something to do. But rhyming is not important for reading per se, so I'm not going to spend time on it with first graders. I'm going to go right to making sure. Now this is where I'm going to, tell you to listen to my first two presentations, as we talked a lot about beginning sound isolation. And I'll just very briefly just show you a couple concepts. And by the way, one other thing I want to say, before some of you leave, I love talking about this. I'm happy to come into your classroom, into your school, to do a free presentation, a Zoom presentation for an hour. We can set up a time when it's convenient for your faculty. So just email me. We can set something up. Or if you'd like to just individually talk to me or have a Zoom session with me, I would like nothing more than that. This is more fun for me than going to a movie or eating ice cream. So just reach out to me and we'll have fun together. Okay, so very, very briefly, we talked a lot about giving children beginning sound isolation by playing bingo games with them, giving them an independent activity where they put a game piece in the box and then they find the other pictures that have the same beginning sound. And that allows me as a teacher to give them an understanding of the alphabetic principle so they can start learning the alphabet. Like I said at the beginning, and some of you might have missed it, if Veronica can look at goat and say G, then she can understand that black squiggly abstract symbol says G. And so she can start playing games that way. So the other thing is the phoneme segmentation. Those are the only two things. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking. Oh, you didn't see anything I showed you. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was talking away, but not showing you pictures. So we talked about beginning sound isolation. My apologies. Okay. The other skill, which is so important, is phoneme segmentation. Because phoneme segmentation basically opens the door to the alphabetic principle at the word level. Let me see if I can find that slide real quick. Here we go. So that's the short answer. Phoneme segmentation solves all your problems. It solves all your problems, but you've got to have games and activities for them to do. So that's the short answer. And I know that you want more, but if you double down on understanding phoneme segmentation and learning how to teach it and playing blending games, I mean, I could play blending games for 2 hours with 25 different children and everyone's getting what they need because I'm giving them 3 sounds and they're guessing what the picture is. And I'm separating the sounds further and further apart, or I'm keeping them really close together. So focus on phoneme segmentation.
Mm-hmm. Is the middle vowel sorting available for download?
If it isn't, email me. I still have work to do on my website and on, well, actually, there's that one file that one link that I'm putting into in the chat box for the downloadable PDF games. If it's not available there, just email me and I'll send it to you, but it'll remind me that I still have to put some more games onto that web page.
Do you have a sort of sequence to your games, like an order to implement, like a scope and sequence?
Well, it's in my book.
Okay.
And again, individualized instruction, differentiated instruction means we have to pay attention to the individual child and where he is. Mm-hmm. But the thing about having a sequence, which a lot of early childhood educators, they're sort of at odds. They don't know quite how to handle it. They just know that children are supposed to decode. They know they're supposed to learn the letter sounds, but they don't have a sequence. So for early childhood classroom, having a sequence is extremely important. But for that first and second grade child or that resource teacher, that Title I teacher, having a sequence available to the child, they can move quickly through it. You don't have to make them stay really long at any particular point, but you want to have them pick up their drop stitches. So a sequence really helps that child.
Mm-hmm. Are all of the games in your book so we can make them, or they need to be purchased?
You do not need to purchase my games. schools do purchase them because it's quick and easy. They just laminate them and put them in the classroom. The book doesn't have downloads. You'd have to come to me if you need a download for any of the games. And again, I'm trying to make sure that all of my games are accessible on that one link that I gave you guys, so you can download them. Yes, I'll show the book again. I see someone wanted to know about the book. So let me just show it to you again. And actually, oh gosh darn it. Before you close out the chat box, Donna, I created a file, a document so that it has all my resources on it, including where to find stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So
Wonderful.
I'm trying to get it to you guys, but for some reason I have to figure out where it is. So anyway, she wanted to know about the book, and there it is.
If you send that to me, that doc, I can post that on the Facebook.
Yes, I'll definitely do that, but I'm also going to figure out how to put it into the chat box. Doggone it.
So someone said that you should really start eating ice cream because Huckleberry ice cream is where you're from, and you should really eat it. Nothing can be more fun than eating Huckleberry ice cream.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you set up a Zoom meeting with me, any of you that like to just talk about reading, I will get myself a dish of Huckleberry ice cream, and while we're talking, I'll enjoy both. That would be fantastic.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. I think we're good. Oh, we got one new message. Donna, are you planning? Okay, certificate for these sessions. Did you say something about having certificates?
I can. If you send me your email address, I'll send you a certificate of attendance for 1 hour for this presentation. I know in some states, watching something like this doesn't count, but a lot of states, they just want to see something in your personnel file, and I'm happy to send you one. I know that I have a friend in Kansas City who's going to watch all 4 of them because she needs hours for her local, licensing agency. Annabelle, it's so good to see you. I've known Annabelle for about 40 years.
Aww.
She's a great teacher.
That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. All right, don't forget, folks, in the chat, on the bottom are 3 dots on the right. Click on that, and you'll see Save Chat, and it'll go to your downloads on your computer. Okay. All right.
Before you go, everybody, first of all, I'm happy to stay on for a while. I know some of you have to go. Thank you so much for being with me. Next week, we're going to talk more about decoding and connected text and reinforce some of the key concepts which I give. I think you will agree, and maybe someone would like to chime in. I think you'll agree if you're a first or second grade teacher, if you're a reading resource teacher or a Title I teacher, that these concepts are probably helpful to you to reinforce some of the things you're already doing and maybe giving you sort of incentive or inspiration to double down on some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to say anything?
Well, I want to say, and I don't know if people remember this, but I used to work at a Montessori school, and a lot of your materials are very Montessori-like. And there's nothing that makes you happier than to see kids on their little mats on the ground, putting all these sounds together and learning to sound out words, on their own. It's just a really exciting thing to see. So
very exciting.
And your work is very similar to the Montessori work, and Marie Montessori 100 and something years ago knew what she was talking about.
She really did.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep this open for just a little while longer, Donna. If you want to stop recording, that's fine. But in case people want to ask questions, or anybody want to say anything out there about anything?
Let's see. I used your same or different beginning cards this week with Struggling First, and they loved them. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. That's from, who's that from?
Helene.
Helene. Hi, Helene.
Okay. And what are you doing on Vancouver Island? Welcome to BC. Okay. That's from Helene.
I've been there several times. I've taught, there's a couple of Montessori schools where I've taught, and they've had some conferences there. But remember, I can Zoom into your school anytime. Just email me and say, hey, let's set up a time and date and talk to my faculty, or let me share you with some of my other teachers who might benefit from some of these ideas. Okay, well, I guess no one wants to speak up. I want to say hi quickly
I had a
to,
question.
yeah.
Thank you so much. This is great. I'm looking at your 3-letter word cards with pictures and the download, and I'm just trying to understand how to print it out.
Double-sided.
So it on a single sheet, double-sided, and then it folds?
Well, on a single sheet double-sided, you're gonna have to cut it. So there are 3 on each page, I think.
Yeah, but I was trying to figure out, like, on the back side, it'll print out back to back, and then
Correctly.
I cut it.
And then you have to cut them to size, right?
But it's set up for an 8.5 by 11 sheet.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
What do you teach?
I do reading intervention with kindergarten through 5th grade.
Okay. I'd love to hear from you at some point if you find success with any of these activities. And again, if you find some stuff on my website.
I was just using this week. I was having great success with the the segmentation, the 3-sound segmentation with the pictures, and the kids thinking that it's a game and finding it fun and guessing what that worked really well with some first graders.
Thank you very much. That makes my heart happy.
Yeah,
it's all about the children.
Here's a comment from Carla. She says, currently I use your program with only the students who get interventions. I would like to offer to go into other classrooms during their workshop times and work with small groups. Absolutely, Carla.
Let me show you something, Carla. This is a little traveling kit that I created. If you're a scrapbooker, or if you have a whole lot of family photos, you can buy these little chests. And you can put your 4x6 pictures in them. But what I do is I put my games in them.
Oh, nice.
And then I label them so I can quickly pull out the game I want. So it's not too bulky for me to go to different classrooms with my little case and to pull out games for whatever children I'm working with. So I found these to be extremely helpful, and you can find them on Amazon.com and a lot of different, scrapbooking type websites.
That's great for traveling teachers too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an awesome tip. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carla, where are you? I think that was Carla that said something anyway. Okay.
Okay. Oh, Fromberg. A little bit. Okay.
Oh, Fromberg. Fromberg. That's in Montana. We have some Montana folk here. And Sharon Casey's a friend. I want to say hi to Sharon. She's calling in from Washington State. Thank you, Sharon, for coming. I do see some faces that have been with me the last couple of weeks. So again, I thank you for joining, and please spread the word. I think teachers you're so good at picking up new things that you never thought of, or maybe you see me do something that you're doing, but I may be doing it a little bit differently. It keeps the juices going. Okay.
All right. I think we're good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Randall. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.